Yeah, what the body needs is pretty well known in terms of the science of it, you know, the knowledge about the body. And one of the things we know is the body needs to move. It's built to move, right? And when you don't move enough, and when you sleep too much, and when you overeat, and when you don't get enough exercise, right, you're hurting this system that the body is, right? And it's amazing, one of the things about the body is it's amazing how much it can put up with the abuse that people do with it, right? You know, as a dietitian, right? It's amazing that the body can maintain its health in spite of the fact that it's being abused every day, you know, not getting enough exercise, you know, not listening to it, you know, not listening to it, not giving it the proper nutrition, you know, helping it not to suffer from muscle tension and stress, because that muscle tension and stress blocks the flow of energy in the body. This is one of the reasons why I teach a form of moving meditation called Tai Chi Cha. Because in Tai Chi Cha, we're learning how to move in a relaxed way that helps us to open up the blockages in the body that are blocking the energy from flowing freely in the body. And when the energy gets blocked and it can't flow freely in the body, it gets caught in contractions, knots, right? Like the one in the belly, right? One of the awake teachers said that one place that you can understand this is to look at the knot in the belly. We all carry with us a contraction in the belly. And one of the ways the teachers talk about this is they say that this is where the ego lives, in the gut. The ego lives in the gut. Why? Because in the gut, it's where you're trying to hold on, right? You're holding your gut. You're trying to hold on, right? And if that knot in the gut could talk, it would say no, right? It's the expression of resistance in life, is to have a tight gut. And that's one of the reasons one of the teachers talks when they do guided meditation. One of the famous teachers, when he did guided meditation, he would talk a lot about the belly. He would say soft belly, soft belly. So when you're aware of the belly in meditation, you want to see if you can just let it relax. Don't try and change anything when you practice meditation. Let things be the way they already are. Let the body be the way it already is. In its natural state, it's healthy. You know, in its natural state, it's healthy. Even with people who have been diagnosed with terminal illness, who discover meditation, who discover the possibility that these teachings and practices talk about, even people who have been in that condition, who have awakened because of the practice of meditation and learning about the truth, right? That there are recorded instances of when that happened, that the body did a complete turnaround and came out of cancer, came out of whatever it was that was killing it, you know, digestive issues, heart problems. I mean, if you look at all the issues that people have with the body, the forms of disease, right? Well, the reason cancer hasn't been cured yet is because it really doesn't fit the definition of most of the other diseases, right? And the reason that is because cancer is the cells mutate. The cells mutate, right? And so the cells mutate in such a way where they begin eating themselves. That's what cancer does, right? And if you're in enough of a contracted state, if your body has been abused sufficiently and you haven't been eating the right things and it's been stressed out, right? And you've been alienated from it, right? Then what happens, these balls of contraction turn into tumors or disease, right? Or cancers, right? And so, but even with that being the case, right? There are cases of people who discovered meditation, discovered these teachings and awoken, and their body returns to a healthy state, So it's very important to understand that if you're serious about these teachings and these practices, and if you're a practitioner of meditation, along the way, one of the ways you know that meditation is doing its job, along the way you become more aware of your physical body. And along the way, you start naturally falling in love with it. You start naturally being interested in taking care of it. You start naturally giving it what it wants and what it needs. And when you start doing that, it enhances your meditation. It enhances your meditation, right? Because the body's able to be more relaxed, it's more open, more receptive, the flow of energy becomes more natural. And, you know, some of you may have heard of Kundalini yoga. Kundalini yoga. It's a form of yoga that talks about releasing energy that is caught in the base of the spine, you know, in this area of contraction, that through practices and teachings, it becomes possible to gradually relax this area so all of the energy that's caught here and stuck here can release. And when it releases, that energy travels up the spinal cord to the brain. And when that happens, right, it's considered to be a very dramatic and intense experience of awakening, right? Kundalini yoga talks about this. You can look into it. But the way I teach meditation is not so much focused on that. It's more focused on the practice itself to calm the mind and relax the body, and the teachings that help us to understand and learn about the truth, the true nature of who we are, the true nature of reality, so that we can come out of the misery, so that we can come out of the ignorance. But it's also important in the practice of meditation not to turn this into work, not to turn this into something. See, because our minds have been oriented to believe that in order for anything to get better, we have to work at it. We have to try hard, right? We have to make it happen, right? We have to hunker down and make it happen. Well, that's not what this is about, and that doesn't work when it comes to waking up, when it comes to being in a natural state. So we want to stay relaxed, we want to stay humble, we want to stay loose, we want to have humor, we want to be lighthearted about this. This isn't some serious, dangerous thing we're doing. No, this is waking up. This is waking up. This is coming alive. Now, this is discovering that your sense of humor is valuable. It's very important to be able to understand what a joke the condition we're in is. It's such a joke because it's unnecessary. So along those lines, one of the students that has come to this class for a while sent me an email, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. Jim Crumley, you know Jim?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
White hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wondered what happened.
Big Jim.
He sent me an email, and this is what he sent. Time is like a river. You cannot touch the same water twice because the flow that has passed will never pass again. Enjoy every moment of life. As a bagpiper, I play many gigs. Recently, I was asked by a funeral director to play at a graveside service for a homeless man. He had no family or friends, so the service was to be at a pauper's cemetery in the Nova Scotia backcountry. As I was not familiar with the backwoods, I got lost, and being a typical man, I didn't stop for directions. I finally arrived at an hour late and saw the funeral guy had evidently gone, and the hearse was nowhere in sight. There were only the diggers and crew left, and they were eating lunch. I felt bad and apologized to the men for being late. I went to the graveside and looked down. The vault lid was already in place. I didn't know what else to do, so I started to play. The workers put down their lunches and began to gather around. I played out my heart and soul for this man with no family and friends. I played like I'd never played before for this homeless man. And as I played Amazing Grace, the workers began to weep. They wept, I wept, and we all wept together. When I finished, I packed up my bagpipes and started for my car. Though my head was hung low, my heart was full. As I opened the door to my car, I heard one of the workers say, "I've never seen anything like that before, and I've been putting in septic tanks for 20 years." So you can thank Jim for that, right? But it's important to have a sense of humor. You know, it's important to understand that we can afford not to take this life so seriously. We can afford that. After all, no matter what we do, no matter how many things we learn, no matter what we practice and so forth, there will be an end to this. You know, like my friend David says, this is a very temporary situation we're in here. This is a visit we're experiencing here. And so we ought not to take it too seriously. You know, we ought to be interested in having some enjoyment, right? We ought to be interested in experiencing what's possible in this life. That's the thing, you know, what these teachings and practices are about is that the possibility that life isn't what sucks and then you die. That life is a blessing, that life is an opportunity to experience the fulfillment of the possibility of your life as a human being. The fulfillment of that possibility, what's that? What's the fulfillment? Well, if I asked any one of you, you know, what would be the fulfillment of your life, you know? What would be the experience that you would have of your life that if you had that experience, that would be it? That would be the fulfillment, right? Everybody knows the answer to that question, right? The fulfillment of life for all of us, if you really stop and look at it for yourself, is you want to be happy, right? You want to be happy. You want to be relaxed. You want to feel at home in your skin. You want to feel at home in the world, right? You want to experience being satisfied, right? Yeah, you want to experience clarity. You want to experience that you know what's going on so that you're not constantly stressed out, not constantly trying to figure this out, not constantly trying new things and failing all the time. You want to be able to live an effective life. You want to have relationships that work. You want to deal with what it means to be human. You know, what does it mean to be human? It means you got this voice in your head, right, that's constantly talking about everything, including you, right? You have these circumstances to deal with that you find yourself in, called life, right? And these circumstances are completely unpredictable, and it sets up a kind of concern that we have. Because you watch the news and you see people getting killed, you see war, you see people dying from disease, you see football players' hearts stop in the middle of the game. And the way your system reads this is, oh shit, that could be me. And not only, oh shit, that could be me, but oh shit, someday that is going to be me. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's inevitable that it is going to happen. And so we carry around this concern. We carry around this existential fear about life, right? Why? Because we see life as a threat. You know, we see life as a threat. So survival becomes an important aspect of being alive, right? Protect yourself, you know? We withdraw from life, isolate yourself, right? Either go that direction or go the other direction. Be crazy in life, go bungee jumping, you know? Shoot heroin, right? So people go in one of the two directions, right? Either run from it or run toward it, right? Because they don't know what else to do, right? And that is the case for human beings given the condition they're in. The reality is that there is a possibility that goes unseen by most people. And the reason that that is the case is because most people are living inside a hypnotic reality called thinking. Most people are living inside a hypnotic reality called thinking. And one of the aspects of that reality, that hypnotic reality, is a presumption. That's a fundamental presumption. And that presumption is that you know who you are and you know what is real. Yes? This is a fundamental presumption. You're not on a quest to find out who you are. You're not on a quest to find out what reality is. No. And neither is most of the 8 billion people on the planet, right? Because you get that information very early on, don't you? Yeah, when you were a kid, somebody said, here's your name, that's your body, look in the mirror, that's your body, right? I'm your mommy, that's your daddy, right? This is the world, this is a chair. So they introduce you to reality, right? Well, you're not in a position to challenge it or question it, right? And so you just take it on board, right? And so those questions are answered. I know who I am, I know what's real, right? And now the game is on. Now that I know I am and I know what's real, I know that I am one of 8 billion people, and there's only enough water and food and money for a certain number of people. So I have to start playing this game now. I have to get some of this for myself, right? So I can experience being in control, right? And on and on and on. You know the rest of it. You've lived it, right? So the thing is this, there's a fundamental thing. One of my teachers used to talk about this by saying, if you look at what we know, if you look at a diagram of what we know, right? You could draw of that diagram a part of that and say, this is what we know, right? Of what there is to know, this is what we know. That's part of it. And then another part of it is what we don't know, right? So there's what we know and what we don't know. And what we're doing in life is to try and make what we don't know become what we know, right? We're trying to reduce what we don't know and increase what we do know. Isn't that the game? Yeah. You go to high school, you go to college, you go to graduate school, to keep increasing what you know and reducing what you don't know so you can be more powerful in the world, right? Makes a lot of sense, right? There's one fundamental problem with that undermines the whole reality. And that is what's not in that diagram. Now watch. What's not in that diagram is what you don't know that you don't know. How do you deal with that? If you don't even know you don't know it, it's not available to you to find out, right? So the most critical, fundamental thing that human beings don't know, that they think they know, is who they are. Most human beings don't know that they don't know who they are. And they don't know that they don't know what's real. So they've been introduced to a belief system that gets passed down from generation to generation, in which the belief system tells you, we do know who you are, we're going to tell you. We do know what reality is, we're going to tell you. So once you've got that, then just go out and play the game of life. Now it's very interesting, but there must be something missing, something wrong that leaves people becoming drug addicts, that leaves people becoming neurotic, that leaves people becoming depressed, that leaves people becoming anxious, that leaves people becoming dysfunctional, that leaves people being crazy. Crazy, really. Let's face it, being crazy. So maybe we're missing something that results in our being crazy, and maybe that which we're missing is so fundamental and so hidden from our view because we have taken on board ideas that aren't true about who we are and ideas that aren't true about what's real. This is what the ancient wisdom teachings are telling us, that we've made a fundamental mistake in our identity. And because we've made that mistake, we're ignorant, and we're being ignorant, and we're being dysfunctional. We're trying to be something that we can't be because we're not that. We're trying to make life work in a world that is not what we think it is, and so we are confused, right? We're confused, and we're upset, right? And we're uncertain about what to do next. And so all we know to do is to think about it, right? Think more about it. Try and figure it out, try and learn something, that will give you an edge or get you out of trouble or whatever the case may be. And with all of that we've been doing as a human race, it hasn't gotten us anywhere. It hasn't gotten us anywhere. In fact, if you look at the current situation that we're in on the planet, it seems like things are getting worse, doesn't it? Ignorance is prevailing. Violence is still being sustained in the world. People are still killing themselves. Suicide rates are up. Mental illness is up. People dying younger is up. People being fatter is up. People being unhealthy is up. So if we know what we're doing, what accounts for that? If we know what we're doing, if we know who we are, what accounts for that, right? Well, what the ancient wisdom teachings tell us is what accounts for that is that you're stuck believing things that aren't true, and you're trying to live your life in a lie. You're trying to live your life as something that you're not. You're trying to live your life as something that you're not in a world that you think is the world that's not the world. So obviously that's going to produce unworkability. So what is this business of that we're ignorant about our true nature and about who we really are? Well, Ramana Maharshi, this statement that is a kind of a summary statement that Ramana Maharshi made. He was an awake human being that discovered the truth of who he was. And you can look him up if you want to hear the story of it. But one of the things he said points directly at the problem that he saw very clearly when he woke up. And the statement he made is there is a presupposed. Now, a supposition and a presupposition means that it's something that's already there, you know. There's a presupposed, you know. Now listen to the statement. If you get this statement in your bones, you'll be awake, right? It's that simple, right? There's a presupposed non-existent self. That would be you. You've supposed that you're what you are, haven't you? Yeah. There's a presupposed. Now the second part is interesting. Non-existent self. He's saying that who you think you are doesn't exist. A presupposed non-existent self that seeks liberation and freedom and happiness and well-being and satisfaction for that non-existent self. That's the story right there. There's a presupposed non-existent self. In other words, he's saying there's a you that you think you are that doesn't really exist, that is trying to be happy, satisfied, and peaceful, right? There's a presupposed non-existent self. There is a you that doesn't actually exist that's trying to get happiness, peace, and satisfaction for that one that doesn't exist. How can you do that? That's not possible.
Getting it.
Well, you can't get it as who you think you are. You can only get it as who you are. The good news is that boat's already here. You don't have to wait for that boat to come in. That boat's already come in. You already, look, how hard is it for you to get this? Can you not get that you're here? You can get that you're here, can't you? Yeah. So whatever you are, whoever you are, is already here, right? So we're not going to try and get there. We're not going to try and be that. That's already here. The problem is you think it's not. That's the problem. You think that what you are is the voice in your head that's been talking to you from the very beginning, right? You think that you trust the voice, don't you? You let the voice tell you everything. You let the voice tell you what's going on. You let the voice tell you who you are. In fact, not only do you let the voice tell you who you are, but you believe you are the voice. You believe you are the voice. This is the epitome of ignorance, right? Because it's not like the evidence isn't there. It's not like the evidence isn't there that you're not the voice, but in order for it to work the way it works, you have to ignore the evidence. And I often speak about that evidence here. The evidence that you're not the voice in your head, the one that you call me thinking, right? The evidence that you're not that, right? Try and control that. Try and have that tell you everything you want to hear instead of what it tells you. Try it. You can't. Try and stop it when it's time to go to bed. Try and stop it when something happens that upsets you and it starts putting you into this state of mind where it's telling you, oh, that person's the devil, that person's going to hurt you, you better run, you better fight, right? And you never question it because you believe the voice is you. But the evidence is obvious that it's not you. You have to look to see what it says to know what you think. How can it be you? The evidence is obvious, right? And yet, because of the degree of ignorance that human beings have, we don't question it. We don't pay any attention to the fact that maybe that's the problem here. Maybe the problem is I think I'm something that appears in my head as a voice, and I'm not that. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe if I woke up and discovered what life is really like outside of what that voice says, I might discover that life is completely different than I thought it was. I thought it was, right? I thought it was. Because I think that when the voice in my head talks, it's me thinking. That's I thought it was. Yeah. So what if you really entertain this possibility in terms of what is it that is in that area of what I don't know? Well, the first and foremost thing that you should entertain is you don't know what you are. And I'm not saying you don't know who you are, I'm saying you don't know what you are, because what you are is not a who. What you are is not a person. What you are is not a personality. What you are is not even a physical body. What you are is not even a man or a woman. What you are is not a form at all. The awareness that you are, the awareness that is there right now that you say is If I say you're here, and you say, oh yes, I'm here, what is here that you're talking about? It's the awareness that's here that allows you to know you're here, is it not? If that's not there, you're not here, right? Therefore, the awareness is your true nature. It is what you actually are. It has no form, it has no shape, it's not a physical body, it's not a man or a woman. It's not going anywhere, it didn't come from anywhere, it doesn't need anything, you don't have to feed it, do you? Do you have to get food for your awareness? No? It's natural, it's natural. Do you have to work on seeing with your eyes? Did you take a class on seeing somewhere? Do you have to work on hearing? You know, do you have to like, oh, I'm gonna hear, right? No, you can't stop it. You can't stop hearing. You can't stop seeing, right? Why? Because that's you. It's the awareness that sees. It's the awareness that hears. It's the awareness that knows, right? And you've stepped in front of it and said, oh no, they told me when I was a child, it's me that hears, it's me that sees, it's me that knows, right? And so what you do is you put something in front of it called a persona, you know? You put a mask over it, right? And you believe you're that mask. That's like thinking that Halloween is every day, isn't it? That's like thinking Halloween. It's like thinking Halloween is every day because you're wearing a mask, you've covered over your true nature, right? But you're living your life from there. It's not just Halloween, you're living your whole life from there. And you can't take the mask off, right? So what to do, right? What to do? I say what to do because that's how people address problems. They do something about it, right? They think about it, they take action, right? But in this possibility, thinking and doing don't work. In this possibility, the only thing that works is being. That's a description of the awareness's presence, is being. I am the awareness. I am present. I am receptive. I am free. I am not the thinker of my thoughts. I'm not a physical body. I have no form. Well, then you might say to me, wait a minute. If that's what I am, how am I going to live my life as that? How can I live my life as something that has no form? Right? Well, that's a good question. You can't live your life as something that has no form. But you can be that which has no form, living a life of a human being in a physical body. You can do that. And if you do that, you will start to discover your true nature. You'll start to discover what reality really is, and you'll start to discover the possibility of a natural state of well-being and happiness. That's what's available. So in these teachings, it's very important. That's why I record these talks, because in the traditions, we don't just practice meditation, we listen to the teachings, because you have to develop an understanding of what doesn't work and why you're doing the meditation practice, so you can wake up and come out of the dream, so you can wake up and come out of the craziness. So you can start to deal with what you don't know, and move it into what you don't know. See, once you say, oh, okay, I get it, I don't know who I am, right? Now you can deal with that because it's now in what you don't know. But until you get it into what you don't know, as long as it's in what you don't know, you're stuck. Now here's the problem. Even if you get what I'm saying, right, and you're convinced of it, right, and therefore you move what you don't know into what you don't know, right, you'll still be living as if you don't know. You'll still be living as if you don't know. Why? Because you have a program in your brain running based on that you are the body, that you are a personality, and it will keep running even if you see the truth. So one of the things that happens is people see the truth and they say, well, that can't be true because I'm still crazy. Can't be true because I still have bad habits. It can't be true because I'm still not happy, right? Well, yeah, because all that you had when you saw the truth is you had a glimpse of it. And then you went right back into the machinery, right back into the program. And the program is designed for survival. It's not designed for happiness. It's not designed to be awake. It's designed to survive. And so it will keep playing the programming that has you be afraid. It'll keep playing the programming that has you be separate from the rest of the world, right? And you'll go back into the suffering. You'll go back into the misery. So what do you have to do? You have to practice meditation consistently. You have to keep coming back. You have to keep coming back. You have to keep coming back. That's how you got where you are now, as you practiced, didn't you? When you were a little kid, you practiced remembering your name. You practice remembering where you lived. You practice remembering what the teacher said, right? Until you were so thoroughly indoctrinated, so thoroughly hypnotized, right, that even if you saw the truth, the hypnosis would still run the show. That's what you're dealing with. Thinking in and of itself is not a problem. It's when you think you're the thinker of the thoughts that it's a problem, okay? So when you talk about the working mind versus the thinking mind, that distinction, right, is really only useful when you're awake. Because when you're not awake, even when the working mind is doing its job, you're still crazy. On the way here in your car, you were still crazy while you're driving. If somebody cut you off, you would still go nuts, right? You would still. And what I'm saying is, it would be a disservice to you to say to you, oh yeah, all you have to do is, when you get in your car, just make a little adjustment and make sure you're the awareness driving. Good luck.
So when the working mind is having its way, it's doing, it's not being.
The working mind doesn't have a way. It's a tool, right? That's like thinking your hammer knows what to do with nails. You know, it's a tool, right? So it's only a tool when you know it's a tool. If you don't know it's a tool, it's using your life to do what it wants. If you know it's a tool, when it's time to work with it and use it, you can use thinking to do what you need to do, okay? And you can be free from the otherwise neurotic condition that you're in while you're doing that. So you can be happy and effective. And what I'm saying to you is that's the possibility, right? But in order for that possibility to exist, you have to come out of the condition. And to come out of the condition, you have to take time and practice the same way you got into the condition. And if you do that over time, that what will happen is you can get in your car and drive somewhere, right? And the amount of time that you spent being crazy on the way will start to lessen, right? And if you stay with this long enough, right, you'll start having unexplained periods of clarity and happiness and satisfaction, and you could drive your car experiencing that, right? So that's the whole thing. This is a transformational process, right? Transforming, changing your form from a body to that which awareness is. It's transcendental, right? Coming out of the craziness, experiencing life from an awareness perspective is transcendence. That's transcendence. So you're in this world, but not of this world. And you can play full heart, you can play full out in the world because there's nothing to lose. You can afford to have a sense of humor because you can sit back and look at the craziness and see that it's a cosmic joke. It's a cosmic joke because everybody is suffering because they're creating something that's not true, and it takes work to do that. They're doing it all day long, creating something that's not true through the thought process, right, and through the conditioning, right? In the meantime, the awareness is waiting. The awareness is always there. It's always there. It's never not here, right? But it's unrecognized. It's unseen. It's being ignored. That's called ignorance. It's being ignored. So through practicing meditation, we start moving attention from the thought process over to being aware of the body breathing, and now it's not being ignored. Not only is it not being ignored, but you're actually experiencing that it is what you are, aware of the body breathing. Over here, that's not the way it is over here. Over here, it's like, oh, when is this practice going to end? Over here, it's like, how do I feel today? Oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? You know, that's the narrative that's playing over here all the time, right? There is no awareness of awareness here. There need not be an awareness of awareness here because that question was answered. I'm just being who they said I was. I'm just living the way they told me to live, right? And so the problem must be out there somewhere. Must be out there somewhere. I'm going to have to, you know, get a different president here. I'm going to have to get a new wife. I'm going to have to get a new job. I'm going to have to get some plastic surgery, you know. Got to fix this. It's out here, the problem. That's what people have believed all along, and they keep changing what they're doing, more different and better, more different and better, more different and better. We're going to get enough technology to fix everything. Yeah, right. So waking up is the only possibility. Waking up is the possibility of being happy, satisfied, and relaxed and enjoying your life. And beyond that, if you do wake up and experience that your true nature is awareness itself, which is not physical, then the fear of death goes away, because if you're not physical, how can you die? Whole new possibility, right?